Robert Greene was an English author popular in his day, and now best known for a posthumous pamphlet attributed to him, Greene's Groats-worth of Witte, bought with £1,000,000 of repentance, widely believed to contain an attack on William Shakespeare. He is said to have been born in Norwich. He attended Cambridge, receiving a B.A. in 1580, and an M.A. in 1583 before moving to London, where he arguably became the first professional author in England. Greene was prolific and published in many genres including romances, plays and autobiography. Family. According to Richardson, the chief problem in compiling a biography of Robert Greene is the name. Robert must have been almost the most popular Elizabethan Christian name, and Greene is no unusual surname. Newcomb states that Robert Greene was probably the Robert Greene, son of Robert Greene, baptized on the 11th of July 1558 at St. George's, Tombland, Norwich. Greene later described himself as from Norwich on his title pages, and the year is appropriate for the Robert Greene who matriculated at St. John's College, Cambridge, as a sizar on the 26th of November 1575. The author's father was probably one of two Robert Greenes found later in parish records, either a saddler who lived modestly in the parish until 1599, or a cordwainer who kept an inn in Norwich from the late 1570s until his death in 1591. The saddler appeals to biographers who attribute the writer's later low-life sympathies to a humble birth. The innkeeper, a more prosperous man possibly related to landowners, interests scholars who note the social ambitions of Greene's early works. However, in his will proved in 1591, the innkeeper did not mention a son Robert, although he may have disinherited that son. Both the Norwich cordwainer turned innkeeper and the Norwich saddler left wills, proved in 1591 and 1596 respectively, but neither will mentions a son named Robert. Career. Greene is thought to have attended the Norwich Grammar School, although this cannot be confirmed as enrollment documents for the relevant years are lost. Corpus Christi College, Cambridge, provided scholarships for students from the Norwich Grammar School, and for this reason Greene's matriculation as a sizar at St. John's College, Cambridge, has been considered strange. A reason offered for Greene's enrollment at St. John's is that some of the gentry of South Yorkshire attended St. John's, and among the dedicatees of, or authors of commendatory verses for Greene's books were members of the Darcy, Portington, Lee, Stapleton and Rogers families, all centred at Snaith, Yorkshire. According to Richardson, the Robert Greene from Norwich who was an innkeeper may have been an immigrant from Yorkshire connected to a large family of Greenes who lived in the parish of Snaith, and may actually have left Norwich to reside at Snaith from 1571 to 1577. There is no record of Greene's having taken part in the dramatic productions at Cambridge in 1579 and 1580, although 18 of his classmates and fellows of the Cambridge colleges acted in Hymenaeus, and 46 in Richardus Tertius. His academic performance as an undergraduate at Cambridge was mediocre. On the 22nd of January 1580 he took his B.A., graduating 38th out of 41 students in his college, and 115th out of the total university graduating class that year of 205 students. He apparently transferred to Clare College for his 1,583 megaamperes, where he placed 5th out of 12 students in his college, and 29th of the 129 students at the university. It was rare for a student to migrate to another college after he had received the baccalaureate, and no record of Greene's transfer to Clare College has been discovered, nor does his name appear in the Clare Hall Buttery book for 1580–84. Greene's claim to association with Clare College is found in the second part of Mammalia, which was not published until 1593, after Greene's death, in which the dedicatory epistle to Robert Lee and Roger Portington is signed Robert Greene. From my study in Clare Hall the 7th of July. According to Newcomb, other events of youth must be derived from autobiographical remarks that may not be reliable. In The Repentance of Robert Greene, written in the first person, Greene claimed to have travelled to Italy and Spain. However, no evidence of Greene's continental trip has been found, or, unless we take merely his word for it, that he ever made the trip at all. Further doubt is cast on Greene's continental journey by Norbert Bolz, who, after undertaking a computer analysis of the vocabulary of The Repentance, concluded that The Repentance of Robert Greene was in fact not written by Robert Greene. In The Repentance, Greene claimed to have married a gentleman's daughter, whom he abandoned after having had a child by her and spent her dowry, after which she went to Lincolnshire, and he to London. In 4 letters, Gabriel Harvey prints a letter allegedly written by Greene to his wife in which he addresses her as Thol. However, extensive searches of London and Norwich records by successive biographers have failed finally to locate the record of Greene's marriage. After his move to London, Greene published over 25 works in prose in a variety of genres, becoming England's first celebrity author. In 1588 he was granted an M.A. from Oxford University, almost certainly a courtesy degree. Thereafter the title pages of some of his published works bore the phrase Utruisque, Academiae in Artibus Magister, Master of Arts in both universities. Greene died the 3rd of September 1592. His death and burial were announced by Gabriel Harvey in a letter to Christopher Bird of Saffron Walden dated the 5th of September, first published as a butterfly pamphlet about the 8th of September, and later expanded as 4 letters and certain sonnets, entered in the Stationers' Register on the 4th of December 1592. Harvey attributed Greene's demise to a surfeit of pickle herring and Rhenish wine, and claimed he had been buried in the new churchyard near Bedlam on the 4th of September. No record of Greene's burial has been found. According to The Repentance of Robert Greene, Greene is alleged to have written Groats-worth during the month prior to his death, including in it a letter to his wife asking her to forgive him and stating that he was sending the son to her. No record of Greene's son by his wife has been found. However, in 4 letters Gabriel Harvey claimed that Greene kept a mistress, the sister of a criminal known as Cutting Ball, hanged at Tyburn. Harvey described her as a sorry ragged queen of whom had his base son Infortunatus Greene. According to Newcomb, a Fortunatus Greene was buried at Shoreditch on the 12th of August 1593, whose folk-tale name might lie behind Harvey's jest. Writing. According to Newcomb, works of inexhaustible linguistic facility, grounded in wide reading in the classics, and extracurricular reading in the modern continental languages. He wrote prolifically. From 1583 to 1592, he published more than 25 works in prose, becoming one of the first authors in England to support himself with his pen in an age when professional authorship was virtually unknown. Greene's literary career began with the publication of a long romance, Mammalia, entered in the Stationers' Register on the 3rd of October 1580. Greene's romances were written in a highly wrought style which reached its highest level in Pandosto and Menaphon. Short poems and songs incorporated in some of the romances attest to his ability as a lyric poet. One song from Menaphon, "Weep Not My Wanton, Smile Upon My Knee," enjoyed immense success, and is now probably his best-known work. In his later coney-catching pamphlets, Greene fashioned himself into a well-known public figure, telling colorful inside stories of rakes and rascals duping young gentlemen common and solid citizens out of the hard-earned money. These stories, told from the perspective of a repentant former rascal, have been considered autobiographical, and have been thought to incorporate many facts of Greene's own life thinly veiled as fiction. His early riotous living, his marriage and desertion of his wife and child for the sister of a notorious character of the London underworld, his dealings with players, and his success in the production of plays for them. However, according to Newcomb, in his later prose works, Greene himself built his persona around a myth of prodigal decline that cannot be taken at face value. Richardson makes a similar argument, concluding that Greene's later works prejudice the examination of all the work before them, and that the prose works prior to the coney-catching and repentance pamphlets established that, initially at least, Greene was respectable. Richardson considers that Greene claimed from the outset a moral or civilizing purpose in his writing. His tales repeatedly illustrate the disastrous disruptions caused in life by passion and laud the life of restraint. His views are basically conservative. He equivocates and hesitates over the defense of the values of a conservative culture: virginity, true devotion, strict moral probity. In addition to his prose works, Greene also wrote several plays, none of them published in his lifetime, including the Scottish history of James IV, Alphonsus, and his greatest popular success, Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay, as well as Orlando Furioso, based on Ludovico Ariosto's Orlando Furioso. In addition to the plays published under his name after his death, Greene has been proposed as the author of several other dramas, including a second part to Friar Bacon which may survive as John of Bordeaux, The Troublesome Reign of King John, Georgia Green, Fair M, An Actor No Knave, Locrine, Salamis, and Edward III, and even Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus and Henry VI plays. Greene and Shakespeare. Greene is most familiar to Shakespeare scholars for his pamphlet Greene's Groats-worth of Witte, which alludes to a line, "A tiger's heart wrapped in a woman's hide," found in Shakespeare's Henry VI, Part 3. For there is an upstart crow, beautified with our feathers, that with his tiger's heart wrapped in a player's hide, supposes he is as well able to bombast out a blanco verse as the best of you, and being an absolute Johannes Facetotum, is in his own conceit the only Shake seen in a country. Greene evidently complains of an actor who believes he can write as well as university-educated playwrights, alludes to the actor with a quotation from either the True Tragedy or Shakespeare's Henry VI, Part 3, and uses the term "shake scene," a unique term never used before or after Greene's screed, to refer to the actor. The Oxford English Dictionary notes that it is of uncertain or vague meaning, used by Greene in his attack on Shakespeare. Most scholars agree that Greene's comment refers to Shakespeare, who would at this time have been an upstart actor writing and contributing to Henry VI, Parts 1 to 3 and King John, which were most likely written and produced before Greene's death. Some scholars have hypothesized that all or part of Groats-worth was written shortly after Greene's death by one of his fellow writers, hoping to capitalize on a lurid tale of deathbed repentance. Hans Peter Born argues that Greene wrote the whole of Groats-worth, and that his deathbed attack on the upstart crow was provoked by Shakespeare's interference with a play attributed to Greene. An Actor No Knave. Greene's colorful and irresponsible character has led some, including Stephen Greenblatt, to speculate that Greene may have served as the model for Shakespeare's Falstaff. His quotation has also been used as the title for the 2016 sitcom Upstart Crow on Shakespeare's life, written by Ben Elton. Its story commencing in 1592 and featuring Greene as a character prose works. Mimilia, a mirror, a looking glass for the ladies of England, dedicated to Lord Darcy of the North. Mimilia, the second part of the Triumph of Pallas, dedicated to Robert Lee and Roger Portington. The Anatomy of Lovers' Flatteries, dedicated to Mary Rogers, wife to Master Hugh Rogers of Everton. The Mirror of Modesty, dedicated to Margaret, Countess of Derby. Arbusto, the Anatomy of Fortune, dedicated to Lady Mary Talbot. Guidonius, the Card of Fancy, dedicated to Edward de Vere, 17th Earl of Oxford. The Debate Between Folly and Love, no dedicatee. The second part of the Tritameron of Love, no dedicatee. Planetomacheia, dedicated to Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester. An Oration of Funeral Sermon, no dedicatee. Mirando, the Tritameron of Love, dedicated to Philip Howard, 20th Earl of Arundel. Mirando, the second part of the Tritameron of Love, no dedicatee. Euphuse, his Censure de Philautis, dedicated to Robert Devereux, 2nd Earl of Essex. Greene's Farewell to Folly, dedicated to Robert Carey, Esquire. Penelope's Web, dedicated to Margaret, Countesses of Cumberland, and Anne, Countess of Warwick. Alcida, Greene's Metamorphosis, dedicated to Sir Charles Blount. Greene's Orpharion, dedicated to Robert Carey, Esquire. Pandosto, dedicated to George Clifford, 3rd Earl of Cumberland. Paramedes, dedicated to Gervase Clifton, Esquire. Cicerone's Amour, dedicated to Ferdinando Stanley, Lord Strange. Menaphon, dedicated to Lady Hales, wife to the late deceased Sir James Hales. The Spanish Masquerado, dedicated to Hugh Offley, Sheriff of the City of London. Greene's Mourning Garment, dedicated to George Clifford, 3rd Earl of Cumberland. Greene's Never Too Late, dedicated to Thomas Burnaby, Esquire. Francesco's Fortunes, or the second part of Greene's Never Too Late, dedicated to Thomas Burnaby, Esquire. Greene's Vision, written at the instant of his death, dedicated to Nicholas Saunder of Ewell, Esquire. A Royal Exchange Asterisk, dedicated to Sir John Hart, Lord Mayor of London. A Notable Discovery of Cousnage, no dedicatee. The second part of Coney Catching, no dedicatee. The Black Book's Messenger, no dedicatee. A Disputation between a he-coney-catcher and a she-coney-catcher, no dedicatee. A Groats-worth of Witte bought with $1 million of repentance, no dedicatee. Philomela, Bridget Radcliffe, Lady Fitzwalter, equipped for and upstart courtier, Thomas Burnaby, Esquire. The third and last part of Coney Catching, no dedicatee. Verse, A Maiden's Dream, dedicated to Lady Elizabeth Hatton, wife to Sir William Hatton. Plays, Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay. The History of Orlando Furioso. A Looking Glass for London and England. The Scottish History of James IV. The Comical History of Alphonsus, King of Aragon. In popular culture, in the Ben Elton-written sitcom Upstart Crow, he is portrayed by Mark Heap as being alive following the publication of Groats-Worth and a constant obstacle to Shakespeare's success.